right, before we jump in here, this is normally the spot where I tell you that you need to email us at podcast@nationalland.com, which of course I'm going to tell you to do right now. Reach out to us at podcast@nationalland.com. Let us know topics that you would like us to cover. Let us know the guests that you would like us to speak to. Maybe you know somebody that knows a lot of things that would be really awesome for other people to listen to. Tell us. You don't even need to work with our company. You just have to be a listener to the show. You don't even need to be a listener to the show. You might just listen to this episode. Reach out to us, podcast@nationalland.com. We'd love to hear from you. Also, I'm going to just say this. I'm going to make my beg off of you. You might not reach out to us on the email, but as you're listening, you're looking at your phone, you're on your computer. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe you're driving. Don't touch your phone if you're driving. We want everybody safe. But when you stop, when you take a potty break, or when you need to fill up with gas, take a second there, follow, subscribe, whatever you need to do to this podcast. Enroll, but subscribe to us. We're on Amazon. We're on Spotify. We of course have our links to Podbean, which was where we host any of the podcast networks that are out there. Apple Podcasts as well. Follow us. We want to see everybody following this podcast. That's how we measure our numbers. Of course, we measure downloads as well, but we want more and more and more followers. Share it on your social media. Please take a second to do that. That's how we grow, and that's how we manage to get really good guests. We want to continue getting really great guests for you to listen to. So please do those things. And now I will move on with the show, which is why you're here to listen. All right. Thank you very much, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 110 for the National Land Realty Podcast, where we discuss all things land. Our goal here is to inform, educate, and entertain those of you who own land or are interested in the buying and selling of land throughout the United States. My name is Mac Christian, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer here at National Land Realty, and I will be your host for this episode. Now, are you looking for unique ways to make income off of your land? Well, then look no further than today's episode. Denver Downs is located in Anderson, South Carolina, and it's been owned by the same family since 1869. As any piece of land owned by the same family for decades goes, this land has seen many changes. The Garrison family has adapted to the economics of the region, and Denver Downs is now an agricultural tourist destination. Catherine Garrison Davis is an owner of this wonderful piece of land, and she's here today to talk about the journey of Denver Downs from farm to premier tourist destination. Now sit back and enjoy. So I am sitting here with Catherine Garrison Davis, one of the owners of Denver Downs Farms. And this is a farm outfit in South Carolina. And you all have taken it's been in your family, you just said, for 150 years, and have taken what was originally a row crop outfit and created alternate income models out of the land that your family has owned for generations. I can blab about it, but I'm not going to tell the story nearly as well as you can. So tell me a little bit about the farm itself and sort of the ownership and how your family has owned it through the years. I understand it's a good story.
Oh, yeah. So thanks for having us on here. We love telling our story and sharing our farm heritage and what we're doing with our land. We're really proud of what we have going on here at Denver Downs. Our great-grandfather, W.D. Garrison, he grew up in this area, and he served in the Civil War. And at the end of the war, he came back to this area in South Carolina where he grew up. And of course, since he did not make a lot of money during that time, so we say that he came back to the area with $1 in his pockets. And he went to work for a local cotton mill. Well, back then, a lot of the cotton mills had their own farms. So he ended up being a farm manager for a cotton mill here and did that for several years. And he saved up money and he bought his own farm. He bought 200 acres on the side of a little dirt road. And at the time, the little dirt road was called Old General's Road, and it had been there for hundreds of years. And so he bought that farm. And back then, of course, having farmed cotton for the cotton mill, he started off his farm with cotton, and he had 11 children. So 11, back then they didn't have tractors. Back in 1869, there were not a lot of tractors around. So he had a lot of children to help with farm the land. And those children.
I always kind of have a joke with that. Like growing up around farm families, it was like, you don't really have kids so much as you expand your workforce. Like it's a matter of getting really great labor that will do what you tell them to do.
That's it. Oh yeah, they had it figured out. So. And so they had, and it was interesting when they grew up. He did great things for each of those children. He either gave them land or he gave them money to start their own farms and businesses. So we have a lot of cousins in this area because of that. So Garrison's a popular name in our county in South Carolina. So, but over the years, it transitioned from being a cotton farm. Our father, well, it was that for many years, and then our father, T. Ed Garrison, he was part of the Greatest Generation. He was at Clemson University at Pearl Harbor, and they had an assembly at Clemson, and that the United States was entering World War II. And he went on to serve in World War II as a combat pilot, very decorated, came back and got involved and did great things for agriculture in South Carolina. So um, he did bought 6 dairy cows, and he built up a very large dairy here in Anderson County. And Anderson County was one of the largest dairy counties in the state. So he kept expanding our dairy business. And he also was in state legislature, ended up being in the state senate for over 35 years. So during that time, he did a lot for economic development for our area. He did a lot for our agriculture university, and anything he could do to help farmers, he did. So there were things it's funny to look back now on that we deal with every day, and that he was instrumental in getting things going that helped us, that still help us today. So
That's great. Now, so to tell me a little bit. So coming from this area where it starts out as a cotton farm and goes on, and was it the same land that was converted to dairy that was the cotton farm originally?
Yes. So that's where our dairy farm is. And Dad bought land around the county over the years, and did row crops throughout the county, and also did hay. And we had a big hay business here, but we had Holstein dairy cows, and it was a great operation. And then in the 1990s, the bottom fell out of the dairy industry. So dairy farmers were not making much money. It was costing us to operate the farm. We had a farm tragedy. Here we had one brother that was killed in a farm accident, and a longtime employee. So we got out of the dairy business in the mid 90s. And so that time we became like a general purpose farm. So we did beef cattle, the row crops. And a few years after that, well, let me back up real quick. When we were doing the dairy farm, my mother started giving tours back in the 1960s. So we had school buses coming to our farm back in the 1960s for children to take field trips. So that was pretty advanced and pretty cutting edge for our mom to be giving school tours way back then. So we've been doing school trips for a long time, and we still have thousands of school trips that come through, kids that come through our farm each year. So when we got out of the dairy business, we were a general purpose farm and did the row crops and beef cattle. And about 2001, we planted a little corn maze. So just out of 1 acre of corn, cut the maize with a couple of pieces of equipment, and broke a few while we were cutting it, but and put up a sign for people to come out and go through the corn maze, and people showed up. People wanted to come out and see it, and we sold some pumpkins, and we used to sell pumpkins in our front yard at the farmhouse, and it's just expanded over the years. So our parents passed away probably in the past 10 to 15 years. Our parents have passed away. And so we've had the transition of the land from going from our parents' generation to our generation. So we've been going through that process. And right now, my sister and I own the original 250 acres that our great grandfather bought back in 1869. And we are expanding our agritourism business, which our mother started back in the 1960s with the school trips. So we've been expanding that, and going through some change, taking down a lot of the old dairy buildings that have been deteriorating all these years and kind of lost their purpose. So we're either repurposing the buildings, or we're going to be taking some of those down and then planting new specialty crops.
And tell me a little bit about the operation that you have now, because you have a lot of things going on. You have events, there's attractions there. there's live music, you have, you do the pumpkin sales, you have the corn maze. Like, you have a ton of things going on at this farm now that, from cotton to dairy to now a tourist attraction. Tell me a little bit about that transition and sort of, how did that come about, and how do you run it?
Okay, yeah. So we've learned a lot over the years. So we started off, like I mentioned, small, and then each year we just add to it and put more investment into it and get better, more help to help us pull it all together. And we've got some great staff that we've had with us along the path, so that they've really helped us. We can't do it by ourselves, so we've had great people that have helped us along the way. And we've belonged to organizations on a national level and a state level that we go to conferences and we learn from other farmers and business owners of their experiences and what's worked for them and how we can take that back to our own farm. So in South Carolina, we started our Commissioner of Agriculture wanted to start a agritourism association. So we were on a committee. There were 10 farmers across the state that were dealing with agritourism at the time. This is back in 2015. And since then, there have been more businesses with agritourism that have been popping up across the state. So now the association has over 300 members. And we have an annual meeting and some different regional meetings that we go to. So it's great to learn from others and to share what successes that we've had and what might work in their areas as well.
So when you decided to kind of go this route, you said you started small. You started out with a corn maze and just selling a few pumpkins and stuff like that. What was sort of the driver? Like you mentioned that there was kind of an economic downturn in the 90s with dairy that sort of forced a pivot. Was that sort of was the farm at its peak at that time when you started making the pivot? Like what was, I guess I'm asking multiple questions now. So how big was the farm at its biggest?
The biggest was close to 1,000 acres.
About 1,000 acres. And then, and now you're at 250. Is that because of like land being sold? Was that just like a divesting kind of strategy? Was it related to sort of the downturn in economics with farming, or what kind of drove that part of it?
No, fortunately we have not sold any of our land that our father had accumulated during those years. But with our parents passing away, then we have divided the land up among the
I
five
understand.
siblings.
Okay.
Yes, divide the land up among the 5 siblings, and one of my sisters and I kept the original farm, and we're partners together in the agritourism business.
Have your siblings jumped on board at all? Or are they still doing row crop, or how's that working out with them?
That everyone is kind of doing their own thing. So everyone has their own business that they're doing. So yeah, one sister's in the restaurant business, one sister's an engineer. Our brother has his own farm at a different location. Have our business here with agritourism.
Gotcha. And so now that you're running this operation, I'm sure I didn't cover everything that you guys are doing there, but like what all do you do on the farm now? Like Denver Downs, the kind of total kind of infrastructure that you have.
Okay. Well, we have the original farmstead, which is the old dairy. And I live in the old farmhouse that was built in the 1800s, about 1870. And that is all like a historic area. And so we are going through a little Renaissance period, taking down the buildings that are not, that are not in good shape. We're taking those down, and we're going to turn this area into more of a venue. The area where we have our agritourism, it started out being a big hayfield, and each year we add to it. The original hay barn is now like a barbecue restaurant area. And we took a big hill and made a giant slide, and we have jumping pillows and zip lines. And we've got a new paintball gallery. And we also, in that field, we have our corn maze. So we'll have 10 acres of corn with the labyrinth cut out in the middle of it. And we also have pick your own flowers. So we'll have 5 or 6 acres of sunflowers and zinnias, and we grow potted plants to sell in the fall and the mums. And so it's geared towards mostly the fall, because we know in South Carolina, most people growing up a long time ago, people always had grandparents or aunts and uncles that had farms that they would go and visit. And it's just not like that today. So people are looking for an experience that they can come out and visit a farm, see where food and fiber comes from. And so we like to invite the public to come out and visit our farm and get a little taste of farm life, and also, buy some pumpkins and flowers while they're here.
So when you say farm life, do you have like little areas where they can do, is it like they can do milking or something like that? Like I'm taking a guess here. I don't know, but is that kind of what it is? Like getting them involved?
That's fun that you mentioned that. Yeah, we do have a like a cow milking um, simulator kind of thing that people can sit down and pretend like they're milking a cow. Because of course we couldn't provide the opportunity for all the people that come out to milk a cow. So
That would be a lot of cows, and probably the liability too. No one wants to get kicked.
yeah, I don't think the Department of Health would really appreciate letting that happen. So, and that is a liability is a really big concern. Our insurance for having a venue is pretty high, and also having people come out for agritourism. It's insurance is a big thing, and you do have to have a lot of you have to have your business license, and you have to deal with the state Department of Revenue, and they're collecting sales tax, and the South Carolina Department of Revenue collects emissions tax. So for farms that do have people come out to visit them, like we do, they collect an emissions tax that we have to keep up with.
So you have emissions taxes, you have the liability from the just being a farm kind of venue, but then there's also you have the restaurant, which is a whole different set of things. Like there's a lot to manage with this, right?
And we have a great little beer garden area. So it's a liability with serving alcohol, is a big responsibility too. So, but that's really fun. So that brings up, we took a silo and turned it into a little bar area. And we have it landscaped nicely around with really pretty lights. So people enjoy, being there during the day and into the evening. And crisp fall nights is really fun.
So is the idea with this is like this is a place to bring the family and spend the day. It's not. I mean, this isn't like just to go for a couple hours or whatever and dink around. Like this is a whole wide-ranging experience with food and activities and flowers. You can bring a date and get flowers and get food, or bring the kids and let them sled down the hill. And while the kids are sledding, you can go to the bar. There's like a whole slew of things there, right?
It sounds like fun, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it does.
So we created an experience, not just a place to come and shop, or not just a place to come and do activity. It's a whole experience. And for the fall, we have anything fall that you can think of. So in the evenings, we've got live music, and we've got bonfires, and people make s'mores at the bonfires, and we'll have like pumpkin pie eating contests, and like different and we have pig races for entertainment, which people love watching the pigs race. So kind of like a fair atmosphere. But yeah, you do want to come out to our farm and spend many hours or day into the evening so you can enjoy. We started a little lights show also. We've had fireworks in the past, but we decided to do a little lights show that people can walk through, and they see all kinds of farm implements that have lights all over them, like tractors and old wagons, and then lit up jack-o'-lanterns, and so it just makes it a little magical. It makes it into a little magical evening being at the farm.
Oh yeah. So how did you get this idea? I mean, obviously you started out with the corn maze. Was it just kind of just adding small little things, or did you have a grand sort of plan when you started adding things to it? I mean, how did this come about?
Oh, well, actually, I've got a drawing from when I was about 5 years old of a little carnival in the yard. So it's expanded from that little 5-year-old drawing a lot. But we visit other farms and we get ideas, and we did start off small and just thinking that would be another revenue generator for the land. So I like to tell people that don't own land, they don't just give you a check for owning land. You have to do something with it to make it productive and to be able to pay for it and give it make it impactful and make it positive for the community. So we're putting a lot of effort. We've got a lot of enthusiasm into making this a great place for people to come and visit and hopefully they'll have good memories and they'll want to keep coming back and making it part of their fall tradition. And we'll tell their friends, and it'll just keep expanding our not just our fall festival, but for events that we have throughout the year.
And how much staff do you have there? How many employees?
Um, During the fall festival, we'll have about 140 employees.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So when you talk about providing or having an influence on the community, like you're employing a lot of people in the area for work around festival time or fall time, and doing all the activities and everything. Like you're pulling a lot of people in. I'm guessing it slows down in the winter, but like that fall time's got to be prime.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So we started doing interviews back in the summertime, and so have everybody lined up the beginning of September to work. And it is great. We choose really great employees, and that's the biggest compliment that we get is people say that they love the group of people that we have working here and being part of our team. So we tell people it's a great first job, or it's a great job that they can keep coming back. And since it is just part time, so but
Yeah, yeah. It's got to be a seasonal thing.
yeah,
How many do you keep track? How many people come through per year?
yes. Well, we have thousands each weekend that come out. Yeah. So we're
Wow.
7 to 8 weekends a year. I mean, in the fall, and then we've expanded to Easter. We have a big Easter egg hunt, which will have 20 eggs for the Easter egg hunt. So it's not just a little backyard egg hunt. It's a big production. But again, we do it, farm style, and it is, anything that you could expect for a grand Easter egg hunt. We've included it. So we've got great photo ops and also flowers for that, and great food and lots of candy. And then the summertime, we have a big sunflower festival. So we'll have 10 acres of sunflowers with like 15 different varieties of flowers that people haven't seen before, that they come out and they'll come out and pay admission to see all the beautiful flowers and cut flowers. And then we'll have all the activities going on, and food and beverages and great photo ops. And then we'll have vendors for that. So we try to create a great atmosphere that people can come out and just spend the day and enjoy a little time at the farm, because people just don't have that in their busy lives.
Oh yeah. So tell me a little bit about this time period where you're growing this. Sort of what are the challenges that you faced? And I'm thinking, you know, some people listening probably have land that could be put to alternative use. So what are some of the lessons that you've learned as you've grown this thing?
Oh, yes. So, well, being in anything with agriculture, it can be a challenge because you are just subject to whatever weather patterns that you have. So, we have had years ago, we had one year that there was a big drought, that we had not much rain, and we had 10 acres of about knee high corn. So, I call that our 10-acre mini maze that year. So people still showed up and still had fun. So, and then other years, well, this year we still had a drought. So we've had, since that year of the knee-high 10-acre maze, we added irrigation. So we've got a lot invested in irrigation and pond systems throughout the property and wells and so forth. And so the irrigation is really important. We've got a big problem with deer and with crows eating the corn once we plant it, and also the sunflowers when we plant those. So it's always a challenge to, keep the crop looking the way it should look. And there's some years that are just, not as good as they should be because of the weather.
Oh yeah, so weather's a big. What about like infrastructure wise, as far as like were there? You mentioned all the permitting and stuff like that. Were those things that you were aware of going in and you had that planned out, or did you find out as you were going? Because I could imagine there would be elements of, hey, I'm going to do this. Oh wait, there's a bunch of paperwork.
Absolutely. Yes. We do a lot of things as you learn as you go. So there's not a, and also, being farmers, a lot of times you're risk averse and you don't want to put, the big investment into it. You don't want to borrow money. So you do a little bit at a time. So, so we've done a lot of that and just taking baby steps, but taking baby steps each year, it adds up. So we have learned a lot, and I'm glad that so now the cost of building is so much more than it was 10 years ago, that some things I'm glad, like we've got it, light system across the venue um, that would be very expensive to put in today. But we're glad that we made that investment 10 years ago.
So is that something that you would suggest? Like if somebody was thinking about doing something like this, go in baby steps, or or just feel your way along and build slowly, or is this something that has the experience been rewarding enough to be like, no, just go for it, build it all?
That it's a tough call. Some places, I think it depends on your market. If you're close to an area that has a lot of people to draw from, it would be worth it to jump in and make the big investments. If you're in an area with smaller population, it might be better to take baby steps along the way. But you learn a lot the first few years, so starting small is not a bad thing. There's plenty of people that are looking for things to do, and it's a great business to put your toe into, or just jump in.
And we were talking here at the beginning. You mentioned skunks, and I think that's a good story.
Oh gosh! So, yes, I mentioned the silo bar. We turned a grain bin into a bar in our little beer garden area, and we were going along like a regular day, and people were being served out of our silo bar. And one of the customers brought to the attention to the people that were working inside the silo bar that there was a skunk right behind them. So I think you said, that's a pretty funny looking cat over there, right?
If my family was in there, I could definitely see my wife trying to pet the cat that was in the corner of the room.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So that we somehow nicely evacuated everyone from the silo bar while we got the skunk out of there. But I think it was about a week later that we found someone's clothing and shoes in the parking lot one night after we closed. And a few days later, this man called and to tell us about his experience at our farm, that he had been sprayed by a skunk, and he had to get his car detailed and all that because of the leather smelled like skunk or whatever. I said, oh, yes, I remember. I think we found all of your clothes in the parking lot. So he had stripped down to everything and left all of his clothes and shoes in the parking lot. So fortunately, that doesn't happen every day, but it was kind of comical at the time. And we had to throw all of those clothes and shoes away right away.
Do you know what just because in my head, it's so much better if it's a spotted skunk because they do the headstand.
Yeah.
Do you know if it was a striped skunk or spotted skunks that you have there?
I think it's pretty striped. We have striped.
Is it the stripe? Oh, that's not nearly as fun as the headstand. I imagine a skunk walking through the bar doing the headstand thing, like, everybody get out of my way.
So we do allow dogs now. So I mean, we may not see as many skunks. Those skunks may be hiding from the dogs now. But
was that a tactical solution as far as like getting the dogs out there like that, skunks away?
Not really. We just figured out everyone loves bringing their dogs to the farm, so we decided to start letting them do that. And in the past, we'd had like one day a year that people could bring their dogs to the farm. So, but other funny things. So we've had some concerts here at the farm, and we've worked with promoters. So concerts are interesting businesses to be in. So you can either make money or you can lose a lot of money doing concerts.
Okay.
So you have to pick wisely. So there was a promoter that we had for a few years ago that had approached us about having a concert. We had Lane Hardy, who is not Lane, Scotty McCrary. It was Scotty McCrary.
Okay.
And he was really popular at that time and sold, I don't know, probably 5,000 tickets. And there was much more than they had anticipated. So during the concert, while a lot of my family and good friends were backstage enjoying hanging out and enjoying the concert, I was out in the parking lot trying to figure out how to get all these cars back on the road after the concert, meeting with sheriff's office and all that. So a lot of people had great memories of that really big concert, but I was
from the operational side, it's a little different.
Exactly. So
when you mentioned that and this is a good question for a landowner looking at hosting a venue like that and hosting concerts. You mentioned there's good ways to make money, good ways to lose money. What are some things that people should watch out for and avoid?
Okay, that's a good. Well, you finding a promoter that you trust and that has good references. I think, and also the musicians, just making sure that you can make what the price is going to be that you have to sell the tickets for. It's amazing now how much people pay for tickets for concerts, but most of the time the ticket price just covers the cost of the musician, and the way that the concert venue is making money is just off of alcohol sales. So
Okay.
you got to think about what audience you're bringing with what musician and how much alcohol they're going to be drinking. So if it is, if it's a concert that attracts, all that someone just won American Idol and it has all the, grandmas out there and,
You
one of,
got children and senior citizens. You're not going to sell as much of the things that make you money.
that's,
I get it.
that's
So you got to
good.
target the demographic or you have to have other things to sell than just alcohol sales, that kind of thing, in order to make
Right.
up for that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it's fun to see all the different people that come out for the concerts, but you've got to have them that are going to buy alcohol if you're going to be successful with the concert business. But yeah, that's the concert business is an interesting thing. So, but definitely work with somebody that knows what they're doing. I would say that. So it's kind of hard to start off on your own doing it and making a lot of money. You can lose a lot of money from it.
Oh, I can imagine. So
Yeah, you have to deal with like a lot more insurance and a lot more with stage and lighting and music production, and there's a lot of there's a green room you have to provide for the artist depending on their level, and a lot of things that go into it.
oh yeah. So when you're going through this, you obviously have kind of found your way through it as you've gone and built. But as far as learning what permits and stuff like that that you need to get, is there sort of a central source that you went to find this, or did you just have to ask around, or can you just talk to state authorities about that? Like how do you go about finding all the permitting that you need? Because you're doing a lot of things.
And each state's different. I mean, some states, where you are might be a lot different than South Carolina, but South Carolina. So we usually start off with our local law enforcement. Anytime we have events, we always have presence of law enforcement. So we always start with them, and then the Department of Revenue for the state, and our county doesn't have a lot of regulation other than getting their sales tax, but it just depends on where you are, and you do learn as you go. So that's the biggest thing. Things reveal themselves as you're planning and that kind of thing. But yeah, some states are really friendly towards agritourism, and some states may be more restrictive. Some states may say it as a different kind of business. So like right now, we're still able to pay our taxes as agriculture and not like as a traditional business.
Is that based off of a percentage of land use that is going to agriculture?
No, it's
Just
the way.
agricultural use. Because some places like in Idaho, right? Like you can throw a horse on it and you can call it agriculture. Like it's really easy that way. Like there's a little more to it than that, but it's fairly minimal as far as what they call agriculture. I just didn't know if that was any different there.
It's There definitely guidelines like that you do have to have so much of it in agriculture, but South Carolina is very geared towards agritourism. They're very friendly because of we've got a great commissioner of agriculture, and our state legislature has been really friendly too. So we try to stay really in tune with what's going on with our state legislature and land zoning for our county, and make sure that we're able to keep our land zoned the way it should be and make sure the taxes stay the same.
So, what things have you tried that did not work?
Well, we're not doing as many concerts lately, but we find that we love live music and people love live music. So we include that in our regular festivals. So we always have live music and on the weekends when we're open to the public. So they enjoy that. Let me think what else we've done that we are not doing now. Oh, we did have a haunted house. We had a haunted house for about 5 years, which we had a partner that did the that ran our haunt, and which it was a good partnership, but a haunt is a different kind of business. They can do very well. They can make a lot of money. So that's something that landowners might think about. But it depends on where you are and how close you are to other big population areas, and what your competition looks like in the area. But haunted attractions they can be very popular, and people still wish that we had our haunt, but that is a whole different business. So that's another set of 100 plus employees that you have to manage, and you're up till 2 a.m. every night, and it's a huge investment, in preparation, and with all the animatronics that you have, and then there's a lot more regulations with that for safety, and there's higher insurance costs for the haunt. So we're not in that business right now.
I say that's a whole different bag of worries right there. Like that's like there's a whole different level of things with that. Tell me about the allocation of agriculture, and I'm going to say agriculture for all the things that grow on the farm. What all kind of things do you have? You have the corn maze, you have wildflowers, you have pumpkins. Is there anything else that you're growing out there?
Potted mums. We do potted mums, like 4,000 potted mums that we sell for they're mums in like 1 gallon containers.
Okay.
And
I have to ask it because I don't know what it is. What is a potted mum?
Chrysanthemums.
Chrysanthemums. Okay.
Yeah.
So and they're pre-potted. So like this is just like a whole grove of pots that are ready to go, or like you grow them in the ground and put them in pots, or I don't know. I gotta ask these questions.
Great question. It's you plant them and you put the soil in the pots, and you plant a little plug of the plant into the pot, and then irrigate it, put it out in a field with all the other the 1 gallon pots, and you irrigate those and fertilize them, and the plants grow, and then we sell those after about 3 months. They're full size, and then we sell those. And then there's also fields that we do of cut flowers that people like, zinnias and cosmos and foxglove. And I know there's one, and so there's a whole area that we do of cut flowers that people come out and they pick cut flowers for bouquets. Which across the country, that's a big thing right now, is that cutting flowers and sunflowers and tulips and that kind of thing. It's a really, big thing people like to do, and come out and take pictures for Instagram and all that.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That is a thing now. In senior photos and stuff like that. You just described the chrysanthemums, and I'm just imagining. Is it just like acres of pots?
Yes.
Do you mess with people and tell them you have a pot farm?
Oh, that's another venture we tried. And we had licensing and all of that from the state, so it was all legal. But yeah.
Yeah. So you did try that out. The regulations are crazy with that, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we tried that. It was not a good venture, so we got out of that. But we can say we tried it.
You can say you tried it. I want to mess with people and be like, yeah, we grow them here. Like you put the pot in the ground, and it's a pot. You throw a pot seed out there, and it pops up with a plant in it. And see all the acres. I don't know. I don't think anybody's that gullible, but it would be fun to try. It's my marketing brain starts going crazy with that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I know. I'm thinking about that too. I think that's what. So yeah, so we have lots of pots of mums out
Pots
here.
of mums, not pot, but pots of mums. So that's a whole different level of irrigation, right? Like you've got to be above what you're watering at that point. Did you set up specialized irrigation for that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. So there are little emitters that are specific for each of the pot. Each pot has a little emitter that puts water into that. So it's a whole line. There's a whole system that gets water to each individual pot.
Do you know how many acres you have that are dedicated to growing things?
Right now, that is, and again, we're like in a Renaissance period. So we are taking some of our pasture land and changing it. So we probably had 150 acres of pasture land that we have still some in pasture land, but we're going to be changing it over to crops, and probably 20 acres of plants that we do.
So are you filling the pasture land too? You have animals grazing there too?
Right now, but we're changing it over.
Okay, you are changing that over. Okay. So this is you've got a wild thing going on here. You've got animals grazing, things growing, potted plants, music, food, bar, people running around everywhere. And then what are the attractions you have? Like, is it just slides or what else do you have?
Oh gosh, so we have a lot of attractions. So there's the giant slide. There's jumping pillows. There's zip lines. There's a ropes course. There's a little ball zone area for basketball, football, baseball, and there's a giant human foosball. So people get into this large rectangle that's like half a football field big, and they play foosball, like human foosball.
Uh-huh.
There's giant tricycles to ride on and slides and um, what let's see. There's a roping game where people can sit on a saddle and pretend like they're roping a steer. There's a mini maze for kids to go through, made out of fences, and then of course the 10-acre corn maze. People try to navigate their way through, and each year we have a different theme. And there's trivia inside the maze according to the theme that year. Um, let's see. Then let's see. Oh, and then at night we have the little pumpkin light show. So people go through, they walk through the little trail of the pumpkin lights and take lots of pictures. And then there's pumpkins. So we used to grow pumpkins. We grew about 10 acres of pumpkins. And in South Carolina, it's very hot and very humid. So I would get all the complaints about people not being happy with their pumpkins on Monday morning after they bought them over the weekend. So we have a farm in North Carolina that grows them for us. So up in the mountains. And so they'll bring them down in tractor trailer loads, and we put them out. We call them pumpkin angels, spread the pumpkins out over our field. And I like that. Personally, I like that for two reasons. Number one, I don't get complaints about the pumpkins because these are sturdy pumpkins. People have these pumpkins on their yard, in their front porch, and they might last 6 months. So I've had people see how long they would keep their pumpkin, and we've had pumpkins last through Easter. So, I like it because the pumpkins last longer. They're really better quality than what we grow. And the second thing is that people like to go out to a pumpkin patch where there's the beautiful green vines and there's adorable pumpkins right there, and they can cut the pumpkin off of the vine. And that is great for about 2 weeks of the season. And then there comes a frost and all of the vines die. And you have a field full of just dead vines, and it looks like something out of The Walking Dead. It's just scary. So
it presents better. It presents better when you do it this way.
Yes, it presents much better. Yes. And then no one wants to get their picture in a pumpkin patch that is all brown and dead. No one wants that. So yeah, we figure out a way to move past that and just have the pumpkins out there ready for people to take pictures and pick out which one they want and take it home.
I got you. So you're involved in this organization that talks about agritourism in South Carolina. You said you have around 300 members.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, given that information and given what you've gone through, what are some suggestions you would have for a landowner that is contemplating something like this to get them over hurdles quickly before they jump in?
Well, first they've got to be really passionate about whatever direction they're going in. If they love goats, they want to have a goat farm. They have to be really passionate about goats and make sure that they can come up with a business model that's going to be sustainable around that. So they've got to love it, and they've got to have a lot of passion for it. So I don't think that, and not one size fits all. There's not one specific business venture that's going to be right in one area. It's going to work in one area, and then it's going to work in another area. It doesn't always work like that. So I think that's the biggest thing: making sure you're passionate about it, and being flexible for your area specifically.
I got to ask you, if you had it all to do again, would you do it again?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's a great way to continue our farm heritage and share it with the community. This is it's a really fun way for us to do that. So I don't know, any other way that our farm could continue to, to thrive like we do and doing anything else. So I know we'd have to sell a lot of tomatoes to compete with our agritourism business. So we
There we
like
go.
having, yeah, we like people coming out and having fun and seeing their smiles and laughter and want to come back. So
So
I
you
make
really love this thing. I mean, this is great. Like this has become, you live there, work there. This is everything, right?
right. Oh yeah, this is what we do. This is what we love. So and
And
it's great that it's seasonal too. So we've got the winter months. There's not a lot going on in the winter. We don't do Christmas because we're exhausted after the fall. So we can really enjoy our Christmas family time together, and then when the weather starts warming up in the spring, then things come back alive around here, and we're back in our agritourism. And there's always ideas we have, zooming around in our head, and we go to meetings in the off season and talk with other farmers and see what's going on, at their locations. And, so we always, there's so many different ideas that we want to do. We talk about doing a vineyard and a small boutique vineyard and doing a cidery, and, the sky's the limit on, what the next venture is going to be.
you mentioned, so you run this, you said you and your sister own this land. Does she help you run the farm?
Yes.
So
Hmm.
this is a full family operation. What's it like working with family on that?
Oh, we have a great time. And her husband, Ron, he is the operations manager for everything. So he's really hands-on kind of person, and he's got a crew of guys that help him, and they make things happen. So Lee and I are more creative side of things, and we come up with the ideas and say, let's do this, and we'll work on all the detail, the back end details, and y'all go put it together. And it works out. It works really well. So about halfway through the season, we all are tired and we start getting grumpy and grouchy. We've just learned over the years to give each other a lot of grace during that time.
Oh yeah. Well, and you mentioned, so there's family members. Sounds like they're surrounding you with other acreage. Do you put them to work too?
A lot of them have their own things going on. In the early days, we certainly did. We had a couple
Yeah.
of cousins working for us, and now it's mostly the cousins' children, that are coming to have their first jobs, here at the farm, and that's really special, and that helps them kind of stay in touch with their land that their great grandfather used to farm, and that's really special to have those cousins around. But we love having great people in the community that come and want to help and be a part of what we have going on here at the farm.
And you said you started the first corn maze in 2001.
Yes.
And so you're going on 23 years of doing agritourism. You're kind of like you're a veteran of this. Like, you know what you're doing.
Well, we hope so.
Oh yeah. No, this sounds like a
And
really well run outfit. I love this.
it's so funny now to look back at our mom giving tours of the dairy back in the 1960s, and how careful we are, and with our insurance and all that, and how mom would just take them right through the dairy parlor with cows walking by, and you know stepping over manure or whatever. So things have evolved a lot over the years, but um we have people that have been coming on field trips here for now so many years, and they keep wanting to come back. So we're proud of what we've got going on, and we want to keep it fresh and keep adding things, and focus on what's working for the land, and evolve and do something different if it's not. So if something happened tomorrow and all of a sudden this model wasn't working, we were not able to make it productive and make a living off of it, then we would pivot and do something else.
That's great. So what do you have in store for your future plans? What are you thinking of the next coming years, and things you're looking to add or the things you're looking to change?
Well, that's what we had the dairy up until the mid 90s.
Yeah.
We have a lot of the old dairy buildings that are, well, we've got some buildings from the 1800s that we're trying to preserve, and find new uses for those, so we can keep those, um, productive and looking good. Then we've got a lot of buildings, from when we got out of the dairy business that are falling apart, falling down, and that have not been taken care of over the years, that we are removing those, but of course taking, every piece of tin and every piece of wood and preserving that so that we can repurpose it for something else on the farm. So we're going through that process right now. And we really will be planning and putting in new irrigation systems for part of the acreage in the coming years, and planting more crops we hope to do muscadines and peaches and blueberries and blackberries and things like that grow well in this area. So that's something that the farm really hasn't done before, but my sister and I I'm thinking that's the direction we'd like to go into. And so we had a big focus on cattle for the past 30 years. And so we're getting more away from the cattle and more back into fruit production.
Gotcha. I want to be considerate of time. It's always a thing of mine to watch the clock and make sure that I get people out of here when they expect to get out of here, because nobody wants to be held on a podcast for too long. But I want to give you an opportunity. I always give a shameless plug at the end. Tell us what events that you have upcoming in your area, and I know that it's corn maze season, so tell me a little bit about that. Give me your promo.
Okay, we are getting ready for our fall festival. We're going to be open September the 27th through November the 10th. So that's 7 weekends this year. We'll be open Friday nights, all day Saturday, and from 12 until 6 on Sundays. So we'll have all our 30 barnyard activities open, including our giant mega slide mountain and our zip lines and jumping pillows and all the fun barnyard activities, climbing in the hay barn, and our new paintball gallery will be open this year, and gem mining. And the evenings we'll have our pumpkin light show that people can walk through, a little lighted trail that will make them feel like a magical time here at Denver Downs. And we'll have live music on the stage and bonfires where people can get cozy and make s'mores in the evenings. And we'll have lots of other little activities going on with contests like pumpkin pie eating contest, our little pumpkin princess pageant. We'll have entertainment such as our pig races, and we love shooting the candy cannon. We fire a
candy cannon
throughout the field. It's raining candy, so kids love that. So it's going to be a busy fall season. We hope folks will come out and visit us at Denver Downs.
And then you said it's a lighted pumpkin patch, so that has to be a really, really cool ambiance.
It really is. So people can pick their pumpkins out at night, and we'll get about 60 tons of pumpkins at the farm. So we'll have 60 to 80 tons of pumpkins a year.
Oh my gosh. That sounds very cool.
We sell a lot of pumpkins. So
it's a lot of pumpkins, but I bet, lit up, I bet that looks really, really cool. I want to go there now. I got to fly across the country to do it.
I know. Come on over. Make it back to the East Coast. That'd be great.
Yeah. So travelers, if you're headed through South Carolina, you got a place to visit now. And people in South Carolina, get out there and check it out. Oh, North Carolina, South Carolina, anybody in range, right?
Exactly. We're not too far from Atlanta, Georgia. So people come from Atlanta to visit us. So
yes.
It's a fun fall tradition coming out to Denver Downs.
I love it. Well, Catherine, thank you very, very much for your time. This is a very cool thing. And I love what you've done from the original setup that you had, and preserving the history there and preserving the family heritage. It's a cool thing that you've done. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we hope to keep it going. Yep, definitely. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. This concludes episode 110 for the National Land Realty Podcast, discussing agricultural tourism with Denver Downs owner Catherine Garrison Davis. You can learn more about land ownership and the buying and selling of land at nationalland.com.